Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Today, I'm joined by David Rico. I actually found him on Instagram. I noticed that he's a person who used to use Adderall and now is passionate about trying to spread the news about how life is better without Adderall, at least for him. And I personally haven't taken Adderall, but I know some people who are currently on it, and they say that, like, man, it's quite addicting. Like, it's a dangerous one, but I kind of like it, and I'm like, man, this is interesting. So I was like, why don't I dive deep into your story and, why you decided to put yourself online as someone who helps people in this way. So yeah, thanks for coming on, David.
Yeah, thanks, Harley. Thanks, man. Yeah, my story's super interesting. It's not one of those stories where I ended up on the streets and begging for money, robbing people. My story comes in a ignorance form, where one day I was staying up late. Friend handed me an Adderall. I was about 21 years old. I'm 28 now, and ever since then, when I took that first pill, it was Ritalin at first. It was like a 20 milligram Ritalin. I took it and I felt this explosion of euphoria in my brain. And when I felt that euphoria in my brain, I thought I became a person, everything that I needed to be successful. Very energetic, very focused. I can talk without feeling um, the fear of opinion of others. I felt this jolt of confidence and enthusiasm. And then fast forward 5 years later, going on an Adderall binge, my dosage went from 20 milligrams to 200 milligrams, taking in a day at one point in my addiction. And thank God for COVID, because if COVID didn't happen, I would not have got sober. COVID, as I saw the world shutting down, really gave me this insight of, as the world was resetting, this was a window of opportunity to get sober. And it was a God-given opportunity for me. And so in 2020 or 2021, I ended up quitting Adderall. And fast forward now, I'm about 2.5 years sober. And I know the addiction of how it feels to be on Adderall. A lot of people think it's careless. It's a careless, not serious drug. It can be a very serious drug if you use it at high dosages. So that is kind of my story. Went on a 5 year binge, 2.5 years sober, and yeah, I'm starting to get to know myself. I just recently have started to feel confident and come out and tell my story on social media. So this is where we are between me and you and having this interview. So I'm happy to be on.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. And I guess maybe try to explain what is Adderall like for people who haven't used it. You said kind of energetic,
Yeah.
talkative. Like, what else? Maybe describe a little deeper about, like,
Yeah.
if you can remember.
What I
I'm
what
sure you
I
can.
what I have heard is, when you don't need Adderall, it's like cocaine. It's like a speed. And when you take it, you have this effect of just this rushing feeling of euphoria that goes through your whole body. If I'm touching something, it feels like orgasmic, literally. At one point, everything I do feels good, amazing, and people who have been addicted and recovered, they know that feeling doesn't last forever, because you end up having to take more and more, and you come to a point where you eventually start taking so much where you're not even getting high. You're just trying to sustain your lifestyle of functioning. And then the third thing is, you eventually take so much where you need to get off of it. You need to get off of it, because if you don't get off of it, you're gonna fucking lose your mind, and that's what happened to me.
Hmm.
I ended up literally losing my mind during recovery. So that's how it felt to someone who was never diagnosed with ADHD. And I remember when I took it, I immediately went to the doctor, told them I had ADHD. They didn't do a psychiatry test on me. I just told them I had ADHD, and literally like the next day, I I had a script for 20 milligram Adderall, and then that kind of just jolted everything. And then I worked my way up to 200 milligrams. And I was working my way up there by finishing out my scripts a lot earlier and buying off, friends who were drug dealers, who I thought were friends, who were drug dealers. And that was how I supplied my high, pretty much. And yeah, that was, just thinking back, it's so crazy, because that was 2.5 years ago, and that's not that long. And so much has changed in 2.5 years ago. So, yeah.
Man. Like, When did you realize, like, okay, this is now turning into a problem? It's like something that, it's not a good thing anymore. Like, I bet at first you're like, oh, it's
Yeah.
fine. And then you kind of told yourself that. But then, like, did you hear someone talk about it? Did you just,
Yeah.
yeah, explain
So
what happened
there was
there?
two moments in my life, two moments where it kind of snapped me out. It was interesting. It snapped me almost out of my high, and I was like, "This isn't David." So two things happened. One was I thought someone one day I took so much. It was like maybe like 180, 200, whatever. I took so much Adderall one day where I started hallucinating, and I became very paranoid. My family's upstairs. I'm in the basement. And I don't know why I thought someone broke into the house and they were hiding behind one of the basement doors. And I took a knife out and I was checking behind every single door because I thought someone broke in. Let me remind you,
Wow.
it's impossible to come to the basement unless you come through upstairs. So logically, it just doesn't make sense. So I became very paranoid. That was one, and that kind of woke me up a little bit. And second was I was doing things like out of character, such as just these little like habits. Like I'm a very respectful guy. Now I am, but I was like on this vengeful, trying to take people's girlfriends, and I didn't care, and I'd fight them if they try to, like obviously not have me take their girlfriend. So, like, and I started to enjoy conflict. I started to
Mm,
like to cause chaos. I started to like to cause misery. And that was a sign of me of I'm starting to become someone that I never thought I'd become because it's not who I am. So though it was those two pivotal moments where I'm like, yeah, this something's off, but it still didn't get me off the path of using.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm. Like, yeah, I could see what you mean. Like, you almost enjoyed maybe the thrill of like causing a bit of a conflict. Like, you felt confident, you felt
Yeah.
verbally tactile,
Right.
you could talk quickly. It felt probably interesting and fun. Like, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just trying to look in and be like, huh, yeah.
I yeah, it's like I enjoyed being the bad guy, and I think it was because I was miserable behind all that
Mm,
amazing energy. I was miserable. I was lost. I didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't know what my purpose was, and it was all blinded by just being high. That would just fix the problem. And a lot of that came, the consequence of not being close with my family. I hated my family
mm,
at one point. I was never close with them. Caused a lot of issues at the household. I was never close with my brother. I was just doing toxic shit. I became a toxic person, and just thinking about it, it's almost as if that's another lifetime. But then again, I think again, it's 2.5 years, and so much has completely changed. So yeah, that's what happened.
dang, that's really.
Yeah,
It's good to hear that you
yeah.
you hit the bottom and kept going, keep
Right,
going.
right. And the hardest part about going through recovery, the easy part for me was the physical withdrawals, such as being tired. I called it. I remember journaling. I called it 100 days in hell. 100 days
Hmm.
in hell was the first 100 days where you stop, where you go through withdrawal,
Mm,
and this was my experience. And when you go cold turkey, and if anybody knows me, I have addictive personality. If I want something, I go get it. I made the choice to get off Adderall. I didn't slowly get off. I got off it all at once. And when you do that at that high dosage, you become very, very, very tired. That is the first symptom. Second is you start losing your fucking mind mentally. You As you start to not hang out with the people who you used to hang out with, you become lost in this abyss of life of trying to figure out what your identity is. And that was the most painful part of trying to figure out who is this new David Rico. There's no one to guide you in that process. And for to let people know, I didn't go through a recovery house. I didn't go through a recovery center. I did it all at home. So that
mm,
was, I think I did, I did it. I did it, but I did it the sloppy way. Looking back, I didn't have that support group. I did it all by myself, and had obviously family members support me. But and that was the hardest part because you don't. How do you find yourself? There's no book. Each case is so each person is such a unique universe. How the hell are you gonna, you know what I mean, find that guidance? And you have to be comfortable in that chaos. And it wasn't about, it took about a year and a half to find out who David Rico was. So I've been in just a year. It's only been a year, I would say, where I felt comfortable of this is the new version of me, and I'm comfortable to engage in dialogue and talk about X, Y, Z, and just be charismatic, the natural man I am. But before I was very timid and meek, going into recovery, and those feelings eventually pass. Those feelings eventually pass as you get more comfortable. But I can see why people relapse. Is if you ever felt timid and meek, it's disgusting. It's a disgusting feeling. You feel weak. You feel, especially as a man, you don't feel as manly as around other men. You don't feel like you can defend yourself. You feel just very vulnerable, as if a new baby coming into a new world. You feel vulnerable, and yeah, that's what I did. So that's where I am now.
Man,
Yeah.
well, serious props for now having the courage to talk about it. It seems like not a lot of people have that kind of courage or confidence.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I wear it as a badge of honor, because if you've been through recovery, you've been through the symptoms, you've been through a whole new life, you understand there's not a lot of people who make it out of recovery. And that is, that touches my heart. Because whenever I want something, I get it done. I can't imagine of wanting to get out of drugs and not being able to do it. And that really hurts my heart for the people who are stuck in that, because it's a different type of hell. You're stuck in hell. And yeah, I have a soft place for people who are going through recovery, because it's not a game, it's not a joke, it's really, really sad. And that's kind of what's directing me to go more into the recovery space. So whether it's opening sober living homes in the near future, opening a recovery center in the near future, I just want to use my Instagram profile to spread the message of, look, you can live a lavish lifestyle. You can be a cool ass person being sober. I think a lot of people think that they need to go through clubs, and maybe that's just on my Instagram feed, but maybe go through clubs. You have to be around girls. You have to pop bottles. You have to drive Lamborghinis to be successful and to be that guy. I'm trying to flip that, because you don't need that stuff to be a cool guy. So it's interesting of how I'm taking this off-beaten path. There's a few influencers who are down that path, but not too many.
Yeah, that's really awesome, man. Like,
yeah.
I think sobriety isn't talked about enough. Alcohol is so pushed, which that's a whole different discussion kind of. But I'm curious, like you were saying, very few people actually fall off or like are able to quit Adderall. Do you know like what kind of percentage we're talking about? Like,
no, I
how
don't
many
know the
people
percentage.
successfully quit?
I don't know the percentage, but I have empathy for everybody who is addicted to alcohol or drugs. I just been there. I've been there. I understand of wanting to go back. I understand the cravings. And it's funny enough that you bring that up, because as I've gotten more sober, and I haven't talked about this yet, but as I've gotten more sober, and as I've leveled up in life, I have taken on a lot more responsibility as a man at work. I'm becoming, this upper echelon gentleman. The pressure starts to weigh in. And as I've taken on more pressure, the cravings have completely tripled, sometimes like doubled, of wanting to go back and wanting to start using. So I would think they would go away after 2.5 years, but they don't. I think I'm fine with them being there forever. I think what ends up happening is pressure becomes so much on me where I want to escape. And kind of with your show, people escaping through, masturbation, porn. My escapism is that too at some points, but it's also wanting to go, take drugs and go drinking and just kind of live a wild life. I've already made a pact with myself saying if I ever relapse, I'm probably going to OD. And that might seem a little dark, but it gives me that option that there's no other choice. It gives me that choice that burning the boats, I can't relapse. If I relapse, I'm fucked. I'm dead. Because I don't want to play that game of getting clean and getting recovered, getting clean, going back to drugs, I don't want to play that game. So that's kind of the mindset. I'm not telling people to have this mindset. I'm just talking to people if this is my mindset. And like I said, I'm an extreme person. I have extreme beliefs. I have extreme habits. I have extreme, self aspiration. So that's just how I work and operate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard a quote that said, like, if you're trying to quit something, if you're trying to quit something, the best way to quit is to talk to other people about your goal of quitting, or like be a leader in that space. And that's exactly kind of what you're doing. It's kind of like, well, now on social media, at least, you're David Rico, the guy who is sober from Adderall. So it's like you'd betray yourself if you came back. So that's like just an extra layer of like accountability that you've given to yourself, even though it's kind of frustrating at times, because it's like,
yeah, right.
Oh, it would have been the easy path would have been to just keep taking Adderall. But it's like you said, the easy path is what most people take, but that's just not the right path.
Right.
The right path is doing something that is noble and is going to help your health over the long term. It's
exactly.
Like, so.
Exactly. People think when they just get clean, they get a new mind. Let me tell you guys, within the first year I quit, I started making 110,000 the first year. Now I make 120. Like, that's how fast your life can change once you get rid of a bad habit. If you're in your 20s, and I believe this is a fact, I was using a website. If you're in your 20s, you're making above 100K, you're already less than 1% of the general population of men. I'm saying that statistic to show you guys, like, that's how fast your life can change when you get off your addiction. You become this upper echelon man, and if that's not what you want, you can take on a hobby and master the hell out of that. Get into boxing or get into painting, whatever. I'm trying to tell you guys of just how fast your life can change once you have nothing holding you back, really. And it's, I can't believe it. It's like crazy, because I was like, damn, that's nuts. That's just nuts to achieve that so fast. So yeah.
Yeah, congrats, man. Yeah, that's cool. And it's like, it's like when you actually do just stop that one habit that is holding you back, you now, like you said, you can focus on career, if that's a big goal of yours, or boxing, like you said, or any other hobby.
Right.
And like, you're able to put that energy that's been being used up, you can now put in other places. And like you said, you can truly be that upper echelon man who's focused and isn't distracted, who maybe is distracted at times, like you're saying, sometimes you feel the urge, but like you're disciplined enough to not let the distraction pull you too far off the road. And that's exactly that focus that I see in you and me. That's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. And it's amazing too to have that type of focus and understand your why. Why are you doing these things? Because that's what as a man, we play a different role as women, whether people like it or not. I mean, women can, be ambitious too, and men, but I just feel like there's a different type of burden on men. So I think it's very important for a man to earn a certain amount of money to be that upper echelon, because if you can't provide for yourself, how are you a high value man? You know what I mean? How are you a high value man if you're earning 30, 40,000? That's my opinion, though. So,
and also, how can you be high value if you are enslaved to something that's ruining your mental health, your mood, your confidence, all these different things? Like, how are you gonna be high valued? Like, if you're like have childish, instincts and have childish habits, it's like exactly
right.
You just have to.
Yeah, you're right. And that's when you're
let
being a boy, when you're choosing your impulsive thoughts and you're taking action on them. You're essentially still being a boy instead of being a man. And let's delay the gratification. Keep for the masturbation thing. Like, this is not needed. You know what I mean? You're not fucking 13 anymore, or whatever, 15, 17. A true man doesn't masturbate. To me, if you're going to ejaculate, I think it should only be for procreation for a woman that you actually love. That is my ideal state right now, is what I'm trying to go towards. Holding off until I'm serious with a woman. And so that's my belief. But yeah, going back to that, I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah. Actually forgot.
No, it's okay. It's true. It's like there's another quote. I like quoting stuff during podcasts, but
Yeah.
it's easy to be great nowadays because most people are weak. Most people don't want to go the extra mile. Most people don't want to put in the extra effort to do what's hard. And so it's like so many people hit that wall where it's like, oh, this is hard. And then they just kind of turn around. Whereas like it's the few people that are like, oh, this is hard. And I'm going to climb over it
Yeah.
and continue. And that's where that, like you're saying, that 1%, it's all kind of in line here. It's like, are you going to be that 1% or are you going to be like any other guy who gives up once it's hard?
Right. Right. You're 100% correct. And I believe there's everybody. I mean, I feel like everybody says the same thing, but I want to say something a little bit different of how to grow as a man. My
Sure.
philosophy has been that there's two types of fears, and they both stride towards growth, but one's harder than the other. Is if you have a fear of being poor, that's going to drive you away from being poor, and you're going to work as hard as you can to make sure you're not poor. I think that's very, very simplistic, right? Another fear is what are the deep, dark fears that you have that you're scared to confront? What is the trauma that you have? What are the scared conversations that you're afraid to have? Once I understood that these conversations, this trauma was holding me back after my recovery because I became so intuitive of what was going on in my mind and my body, and I decided to have these conversations, I have never felt more carefree, more just I have nothing to hide to the world. And that has really propelled my success indirectly of willing to have hard conversations with other guys, other girls, of how I'm feeling, not being scared to be assertive, confrontational in a good, healthy manner. And you have those two type of fears. And I strongly suggest the guys who are in recovery, or if you're not in recovery, whatever, but a very practical advice is to figure out what is your trauma, what is holding you back, what are those scared conversations you're willing to have. Because once you have those conversations, you will be super surprised, the superpower of just energy. When you walk in a room, people are like, what is with this guy? Why is he glowing? Why is he so happy? Why is he coming here with so much confidence? And these are the things that people say to me. It's because I have no baggage. I've already discussed everything with my baggage. It's already been taken care of. So it's a superpower. You can't buy it, which is so beautiful. You can't buy it. And I think there's a lot of trauma out there that doesn't get talked about. And so yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really well said, man.
It is.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. Like, that's exactly kind of what I feel like we're trying to do in this space. It's like so many men are emotionally unintelligent. They feel as if, oh, I'm strong. I can keep it inside. I don't need to be vulnerable. But
Can't do that.
if you actually, like you said, look where you don't want to look, if you dive deep into your mind where what is bothering you the most and you're able to talk about it with other people and who knows, cry it out if you need to, talk it out in that way, you're going to be so much more mentally clear, confident, happy, and leader-like in some sense. And I'm totally with you, man.
And that's what I love about life. This game of life is not for little babies. If you think being vulnerable and letting your truest form come out is going to be too girly for you or whatever, then you don't belong, then you don't deserve to have that next version of yourself. It takes a lot of strength to open yourself up and talk about the issues you've had. It's a weak move to hold those in and ignore all the problems that you know you need to talk about, and which is beautiful. The guys who think like that, perfect. Keep thinking like that. You're making life a lot easier for the winners. But for the guys who want to change, it's not a joke. You need to confront your trauma and just do it. There's no and the beautiful thing about when you confront your trauma, there's no other way around it. You have to literally go to the source and have the conversation. And that's what I was always trying to do other things like trying to fight or like trying to or whatever martial arts. But the whole conversation came down to I need to talk to this one person about XYZ and about how I acted in the past when I was an addict. And once you get those out the way, I mean, you start waking up feeling like a millionaire. And then you start dreaming bigger. You start having better relationships. start having better relationships. Your life just becomes an upward spiral. People want to be like you. People want to hear you. People want to talk like you. Like you become an inspiration. And that's where I'm at right now. So I'm still a baby in this new version of me because it's only been 2.5 years. I'm really counting a year because I'm in this new, I feel comfortable in my identity. So
Sure.
I can't wait to see what happens and I'm just going to keep documenting my journey on Instagram and, other stuff. So on Threads.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
It's really cool.
It's like when all the weight is on you, the weight of trauma, the weight of shame and guilt, you no longer are able to move as effectively in the world.
Yeah.
You can't walk at the same pace. But once you are able to, take off the baggage and share with other people, you're now you're going to be able to be sprinting along at high efficiency, like you're saying, in your career, anywhere.
And you're right.
Just tying it all back.
You're very smart with that because a lot of people are traveling, they're trying to run life as a marathon with rucks. While I have my fucking shirt off, I have these nice ass cleats on, running cleats, and I'm just by people. So it's with fucking jet fuel on these on my feet right now. So it's so cool. I think everybody can do it though. Everybody can just confront their trauma. And I can't say because I haven't had every type of trauma, but I would like to believe that everybody has the ability to confront their trauma and grow from that. So
totally.
Yeah, there's so much philosophies I've gained, being sober. And what's crazy about when you go through recovery is life is in your fucking face. Like I remember having sex for the first time during. We can talk about this, right?
Sure.
Okay, cool. I remember having sex during my first sobriety, and I never knew how intimate that moment was until that happened. Because when I was getting high, it was always a very blur. There was always a lot of alcohol, a lot of pills involved, and as you walk through life with life just being so intense, you actually come to realize of how beautiful it is, of how seconds are fleeting away, minutes are fleeting away from your life, and the past can never be repeated. So it makes you appreciate life, being sober and just having life being so intense, because I know how it feels to be blinded. I know how it feels to be just in a brain fog for 5 years, half a decade of my life gone. And I can't. And you know what's sad about that is there's those 5 years I don't remember a lot. Which my parents will tell me something like, "Don't you remember we talked about?" or "Don't you remember this happening?" And I'm really surprised. I'm like, "No, I really don't remember. I don't remember." There's a lot of important things I just don't remember, and that disappointment that I have in myself fuels me of wanting to continue to be sober, because it just sucks I don't remember a lot. But I'm not going to be, pouting over it. It is what it is, and you just move forward.
Yep. Make new memories.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious what you think of this idea. I go to a counselor also. I have a few networks of friends, but I also have my counselor who I go to once every week or every other week, and I just kind of spew out as much crap to him as possible, and afterwards I feel insane. I don't know if you've ever done it or experienced that, but to me that's been super therapeutic on my journey of self-improvement.
Tell me about that. What do you mean you feel? That's interesting.
So I guess sometimes, the people in your life, you got your friend, maybe your girlfriend, maybe your parents. Sometimes it's nice to be vulnerable with them, but it's also sometimes you have so much to say that it's there's not enough time, or I don't want to burden you in this moment. If I can go to a counselor where it's this conversation is fully about me. It's not like a real conversation where it's reciprocal, where it's give and take. But when you're going to a counselor for an hour, you have 55 minutes to just take and take. Yeah, exactly. Take the benefits of spewing, and it's been very useful. And my counselor is he technically can't be a friend of mine because I pay him, but either way, he seems like a very good friend who's kind of guided me along the path. He's 40, quite a few years older, but we can align in a lot of ways. But either way, it's been just, I'm so glad I went. That like he like I spewed to him like, yeah, I want to start a podcast, I want to do this, and he's like, maybe you should try it, or like I just had that ability to talk about my goals so openly over and over and over again, and I've just been able to chase them with his encouragement, of course with my friends and family's encouragement too, but that's just been another piece that's been helpful. But,
yeah, and I'm pretty sure that helps you too, because it's from a stranger who's kind of objectively guiding you. There's not a lot of emotions or like. I feel like I don't think you'll like that. It's like it's coming from a stranger, and he can probably feel your energy of a lot of things you want to do, and help guide you. I've never had I went through a therapist. I've tried to go through a therapist, but I'm not gonna lie. I've worked out every single baggage and skeleton in my closet. And I was going to the therapist because of maybe just trauma, but I didn't find. I went like seven times, like to 3 different coaches or therapists, and I didn't find them really beneficial. Now, a life coach and hiring a mentor. This guy sounds like he's a mentor or more of a being a life coach for you, right?
He's like a Christian counselor. That's just awesome. In my city.
Yeah.
So like, I grew up with a Christian kind of background, and I don't mind talking about Christianity as well. So like that, but that's not the focus. I like. It's just kind of a thing that can be talked about if needed, but it's not the focus. The focus is just life, which, So yeah, he does good, and I've never had anyone else, so I'm maybe super biased and think everyone would benefit, but you're right. There might be some people that aren't as good at the whole therapist counseling job, but yeah.
I know that's the thing too. Like, I haven't found a good one. Kind of if I need to talk to people, I'll get like a mentor or like a life coach, and that'll help guide me on what I'm trying to do in my life. But those, I don't doubt the ability of therapists and their impact, because that's the thing that I didn't do too. Is I didn't go through a recovery center. I didn't go through AA meetings. I didn't have a counselor. That all happened after. Not all, but the therapist part happened after. And I can see how those people are for sure helpful in recovery, because man, you lose your fucking mind. So yeah, that's cool, man, that you go.
Yeah, it's been useful. And yeah, like you said that after quitting, separating yourself from old friends, and you found new friends and made connections, like do you still have those people in your life that are like pushing you and motivating you, or you are you can explain like I'm 2.5 years out, and then they root you on? Like,
you
have those people.
I'm part of a brotherhood.
Sweet.
People call it a cult or whatever. I don't care. It's not a cult, but it's ran by Bedros Keuilian. It's called the MDK.
Oh.
Yeah, it's called the MDK Project, and I took it. I remember getting sober from Adderall. In the first month, I see this program come up, and it's for men who need to work through trauma. It's ran by like a Navy SEAL. It's ran by this Marine, and it's ran by Bedros. Bedros is he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's very high caliber program. At the time that I was taking it, it was about $10,000. I put $10K down. I had to borrow it. It wasn't mine. And I went through this program. I think there's a 40% attrition rate, which means 40% of guys fail who go through the program. I ended up passing and graduating. And now when you graduate, you become part of this brotherhood of guys who went through really, really, really hard shit in 75 hours. You're not sleeping. I'm not going to get too much of what we do, but you're not sleeping. You're going through a lot of emotions. You're doing a lot of physical activity. And there's a reason why it's 40% attrition rate on average. So that is, and when you're in that type of brotherhood, you're held to a higher caliber of standard. Not only if I go back to using drugs, I'll be disappointing them, and I don't need to be looked down by other men. I need to hold myself accountable, and and just be a better version of me. So those type of groups, they'll help you, whether you're in recovery or not. Those type of groups help you. It just helps you operate day to day and shows you how to live as a higher caliber guy. So yeah.
No, that's really cool. Like, I'm a huge fan of investing in yourself, like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I might have to try that sometime. Wow.
You should, yeah,
I really do
yeah.
like
You should definitely try
Bedros
it.
watching his stuff, but
You should try it, man. He's an awesome guy. And going off of that, that was 10,000. I think in the past 2.5 years, I've invested about 25, maybe a little bit more, about 25,000, just into myself.
awesome.
Because sometimes I wonder, I'm like, how did I elevate so fast compared to my peers in 2.5 years? And there's probably multiple factors, but I think one key factor was willing to invest into myself very aggressively. You know, I always lived below my means. I stack my cash and I put it back into coaching or mentoring.
Yeah,
So, um, always invest in yourself. I think that's priceless.
totally.
Yeah.
And it shows that you believe in yourself too. There's some people that would never spend that kind of money
Yeah,
because
exactly.
they deep down don't believe they could do it. They don't believe that it's going to help them because they know they aren't going to put in the effort. You do know.
Yeah.
You do believe.
And that's what I love about it too. It's like you got to put your money where your mouth is. You know, you say you want to improve, you say you want to become a better man, then you need to hire a coach, hire a mentor, pick someone who's living the lifestyle that you want, and go pay them and understand of how they think, what's their work ethic, what are they doing, how do they keep tabs on their industry. You gotta be around those type of people for sure, because you're gonna get left behind, and this world's very competitive, especially for guys. Very, very competitive. So, yeah,
Totally.
it's a great way just to kind of skip the line and go into the whatever you want to call it, club or whatever. But it's a great shortcut, though. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious, like, so you're now in like a group chat, or you meet like kind of weekly on a Zoom with this group
Yeah.
of you, the MDK, or I'm
Yeah.
just curious
There's like
about
a
this.
Facebook group. We have a Facebook group, but you
Mm,
become so close with these guys. I mean, you have their phone numbers.
mm-hmm.
You have their phone numbers, and I've met one of my best friends in that program, and he's a lot older than me, and though the relationships that you build in a brotherhood like that is priceless. I mean, when they're there for when you need you. They're there for when I was, having trouble with addiction. They were there for whatever, and just having that support system as a guy is so important. I see so many groups not coming up for specifically for men. I think there's a need for guys to be more connected with each other. A lot of guys my age are out partying and with girls and everything. That's cool and everything, but I'm trying to find higher caliber guys who are trying to elevate, whether it's fighting, making more money, networking, whatever it is. And so I'm seeing a lot of those groups pop up.
Yeah, that's really true. And like you were saying, like all these guys partying and then finding all these chicks at the bar and at the club, and it's like, well, how high caliber are those chicks too? Like,
Yeah, right.
I bet you putting yourself in these circles of like high caliber men who are sharpening each other, iron sharpens iron, you're now going to be able to find those kind of high caliber women.
Right.
That's
Right.
pretty awesome.
And you'll feel like you'll deserve a woman like that too, because you understand a lot of people can't do what you do, what you've been through, what you've gone through. That's how I at least feel about myself. Is I just know there's not a lot of people, and their statistics show it. Not everybody gets clean on the first try. Not everybody gets clean in life. People die trying to get clean. So, yeah, you're right. Going into the relationships is super important. You have to have a lot of wins to build the confidence to approach women and have that and have those relationships. So,
Totally.
yeah.
Another quote: you don't get confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror. You become confident by building up a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are and that your trajectory is up.
Exactly. I believe that's Alex Hormozy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just love, I don't know, for some reason I listen to these things and they just stick in my mind.
Right,
and
right. Because they provide like these quotes provide like a framework or like a North Star of how to act or how to operate.
Totally.
That's a good one. Yeah, that is a good one. And when you have those, but you can only have those, and that's another beautiful thing about life, is you can only have those wins if you're willing to confront your fear. That's one way to get a win. Or just being undeniably disciplined and going after a goal for whatever that is. That's the only way you can stack wins. So for the guys who are playing video games, going clubbing every weekend, you're not going to be stacking a lot of wins compared to if you're talking to me or Harley, the amount of wins that we're stacking. And you're younger than me too. The amount of wins that you've stacked is super impressive.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, you're younger than
Just
me.
trying my best.
Yeah. Good job. Yeah.
Thanks you. Yeah, it means a lot. Yeah, it's something like if your life is comfortable, you're not going to be stacking any wins. You're not going to be going up.
Right.
It's like I try my best to like get uncomfortable in a lot of scenarios, like whether that be in the gym, whether that be meeting new people, whether that be investing. Like I just invested in a coach recently. Like it was a little bit of money and I was like, oh, this is uncomfortable and it's something new and she's pushing me in different ways. And I was like, these are all the things that, in my opinion, if you're just, you get used to being uncomfortable and it's like, it's a sign of just improving. And
yeah,
I
think you build callous, and the more fears, the more things that you do to win, they just help you build your case, build your logical thought of, if I can do this, why don't I aim for something higher? I can't tell you of how much I fucking hate fighting. I hate going to kickboxing. I hate getting my ass whooped. I hate all of it. I think it fucking sucks. Let me tell you this. My default mode, I'd rather be at home, living with my mom, playing video games, eating hot Cheetos. That is like my natural default wants. But what drives me is I understand God has put me on this earth not to fucking waste it on some stupid shit like that, which is completely fucking dumb. So what I do is I attack going forward. I go to kickboxing, get my ass whooped. I do presentations in front of executives at my company, and I get nervous, and it puts me at a higher caliber to know my shit, to know my projects, know the product. And just those type of things are going to elevate you. Like what you're saying, build your case of why you're a high value man, or just building your case of why you deserve bigger dreams for yourself. I think there's a lot of stuff on Instagram that are very high level fluffy stuff. It's never very practical. I think a very practical thing is is just to understand where that trauma is, and that's how you unlock your growth. So that's how also I'm trying to differentiate my Instagram too. It's just repeated shit over Instagram, and then along with the Lambos and the things, like I'm trying
for sure.
I think though, if you can stick out, that's how you get millions of followers, and that's not the goal, obviously, but that's how you build a brand. Is if you can find a way to really say something different that no one has really thought of. I think that adds to the factor of having a good following and brand. It's just
for sure
fitting it different. Yeah.
And you're not gonna think differently in any way if you're just taking the normal path. If you're standing out, and you're doing things that are unique, in doing that alone, you're going to stand out and have new ideas and be clever and be inspirational and leader-like. Yeah.
Right. I mean,
exactly.
Everybody knows to take cold showers and all this other shit, but no one talks about how do you grow if you have no fucking money? How do you know what I mean? Like when you're poor, like how do you grow? I mean, one of the things is, like I'm saying, attack your fears, attack literally what you're scared of, confront that trauma. You'll when you do that and you start living in alignment with what God wants for you, everything in life starts to feel like a dance. If anybody has ever danced, the women can understand this. When you start to dance, everything just feels right with the movement. You're not thinking too much. You're just using your intuition to guide you to make the right decisions. And things start to start coming to you effortlessly. Whether that's people, money, maybe you're going somewhere new where you've never been, and that's what's drawing you. Just life starts to feel like a dance when you start to live in alignment with yourself. And
for sure,
you live in alignment by not carrying this baggage that you fucking carry. You got to get rid of that, and that's something I've discovered recently too. Is how I can just make the right choice. I make the right choice though, but I know that it's the right choice, not that I'm just making any choice. Thinking life is just going to turn out fine. It's, you know what I mean? So,
for sure.
Yeah.
And like tying it back to, you're walking into a room and these people are like, man, this guy's got some, he seems motivated, happy, excited, alpha, they can feel that energy, and from what I can tell, that energy is that alignment of you're doing what you told yourself you would do. You're doing it. You're not negotiating with yourself. You're doing it, and you're living out in alignment. Sometimes when someone else walks into the room that is definitely not living in alignment, you can feel like, I don't need to sit by them.
Right.
They're just, we're repelling right now because we have completely different
Yeah.
energy wavelengths in talking in that term.
No, and you're right. It helps you create boundaries when you're living in alignment of these are people that I want to be part of, or I want them part of my life, and then these are people I don't want part of my life. I actually just started exploring more of that idea in that phase of my life. Is I'm starting to understand I don't want to be around party environments. I don't want to go to events that have a lot of drinking or like a club vibe, even though it's a networking event. I want to be. I'm still figuring all that out, but you're right though. You'll figure out when you're in alignment of what you want, what you don't want, and a lot of people think you have to figure out what you want to move forward in life. You don't. Knowing what you don't want is just as good as knowing what you want. That is something that has taught me is I didn't want to do drugs, so I'm not going to go do drugs after I get recovered. I know that's not the path. What else is the path? It's
For sure.
Yeah, it's just playing like this ping pong game of, no, that didn't work. All right, let's try something else. No, that didn't work. Then let's try something else. And that's what you do when you're young. I'm 28. That's what you do when you're in your 20s. You figure out you can take high risk in your 20s and figure out and just do all these crazy risks and figure out what you don't want in life. And hopefully by 30, you know what you do want. So
For sure, man.
Yeah.
It's like gives you that springboard. Like
Right.
First off, knowing who you don't want to be around, and secondly, trying things out and knowing that that's not for me. Both of those things, just bouncing up, trying to figure it out. You're right. I'm so young, trying to figure it out. I got like 6, 7 ideas that I'm trying to do, and that's too many at once. I know, but I don't really know which one I like the most. So I'm just trying to feel it out. And
that's what you're supposed to do with all that energy and all that, with all that energy and testosterone. That's what you're supposed to do. So don't let other people tell you it's wrong. If it feels good in your heart and your soul that you're trying to explore all these ideas, go ahead and do it. Especially if your therapist is telling you to do it too.
For sure.
You're just tasting.
No,
I think what Gary Vee is like, you need to taste more in life. And I was like, I get that. I love that idea. Just taste. Just figure out what you do. Because once you find what you really, really want to do, you just put the remaining years you have in your life and just put everything on the line for that. So
exactly.
Yeah. I can't say I found what I exactly wanted to do, but I'm finding it. I'm getting clear. I'm praying more. I'm analyzing myself in certain situations of, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. And like, for example, I know Florida, Tampa, at least the Tampa area. I don't think, talking about getting to know yourself, I don't think I'm going to stay here next year. I think I'm going to be moving to New York City. Again, it's about finding what you want, what you don't want, and it's just being comfortable with that. You're gonna have a lot of unpredictableness when you play that game, So
for sure,
that is something I'm working through. Yeah,
it's true. And then once you find that thing, or one of those things that is just driving you forward, now life is so worth living, and work is not work anymore. It's truly just passion, and you're living out what your dream is in some sense. Yeah, it's very cool.
Life starts to feel like, wow, I can't believe I get to wake up every day and feel like this and look like this and live like this. Like, that's what you want to be at.
Totally. And I'm curious, what's your opinion of religion, and how did that help you in this whole journey of self-development? I'm just curious what your thoughts are all on this.
I was very suicidal at the beginning of this year. It was weird, coming up to my birthday. I don't know why. I just go through these cycles, and I think cycles still happen because whether my brain is damaged forever or it's still repairing, I don't know, but I go through these cycles, and one of those cycles where I'm feeling very depressed. What the fuck am I doing? Just a whole mind game. And I decided to go to church on my birthday, which was on a Sunday, and giving my life up to God, it changed everything this year. It changed of how I live, my morals and values. I can't imagine going back to a life without God. Every night, I read, me and my brother, not lately, but usually, read the Bible every night, whether it's Proverbs, Psalms, and we get a deeper relationship with God. I actually, with me turning religious, my mom and my brother actually started going to church now. So it's really interesting to see them on the path of being closer with God because I influenced them or I had some influence on that. So it's a very, very important part of my life. All my actions that I do on a daily basis, if it's not aligned with God, I don't need to be doing it. I don't want to do it. And when I do something and I don't live in alignment, I feel off. I feel off in a way where if you ever mixed water and oil together and you just see they don't mix, like that's just how I feel my body. My soul doesn't match of who I am, and it causes conflict, it causes confusion. So on a daily basis, I try to live in alignment with God.
Yeah, man. That's really good. Like, you know, God may have blessed us with the ability to determine what is right and what is wrong, giving us the conscience. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of similar to being in alignment with your own values. It's also in alignment with like God's values. It's like high up and you're aligned all the way down in some sense. Yeah. I don't know. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that makes you powerful. That makes you powerful of living in alignment. You know, you're living your truest self. There's something powerful about that. I don't know why. I think it's just like water flowing down a river. I think it's just natural. You know, when you try to make things happen and try to become someone who you're not, you're trying to fit a puzzle, you know, a shape into another shape that's not meant to fit. It just doesn't work out, you know. So
Totally.
yeah.
And yeah, like I wanted to mention, like your energy, just feeling it through the call, you are the kind of person. I'm not even surprised at all that your brother and your mom now are like following you,
Yeah.
because it seems like you're so confident about your path and you're living it out, and you're not questioning it, and you're just going.
Yeah.
And like that ability to just keep moving forward, that's where, in my opinion, any direction you'll go, you'll have people there supporting and following because of that energy.
I've noticed that too. I've noticed I'm becoming a leader, and it's very interesting of how I'm evolving into a leader at work, and not only for work but for my family. And yeah, you're right. But how that happens is you just have to have faith. Like I accept I don't know everything. I accept I don't know what the next step is. I give all that conscious and thought and the planning just to God, and I just let Him guide me on my daily actions, on my daily intuition. And when you move with God, I mean, literally, it's powerful. You're like supercharged as a person. People are more drawn to you. And you know, obviously, I've had conflicts in my life, so God's there as well to help me with it. So, yeah, it's a blessing. It's a blessing.
That's really good to hear, man.
Yeah, because if COVID doesn't happen, I don't get sober. I need to think about that more, because if a 1 in 100-year event doesn't happen at the right time when I'm in my 20s, when I have all this time left in the world and I haven't ruined my life yet on drugs, like that's just so crazy to me. I just know myself. I still would have been partying and doing drugs if COVID didn't happen. It's just so crazy.
Why do you think it was COVID that stopped it?
Because I realized something made me realize just how business people can see opportunities in the marketplace. I saw this as an opportunity to get clean. I said the world's shutting down for X amount of whatever, how long, whatever that's. I knew the window wasn't going to last forever because, you know, we're Earth. Like, we're not going to, you know, just flop over from disease. And I was like, I need to get clean now before now, because as you can see, the world is on full go mode. If I get clean now, that's going to be fucking hard. It's going to be impossible. But just like when working from home is still happening, I'm working from home. I'm recovering at home. I don't have to be in the office. I don't have to, you know, there's a lot of things that are closed off. So I just saw that. I'm like, this is a great recovering point. And fucking did it at the perfect fucking time, man. I did it because, like, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here right now. I think I would have. I think about it. I think I would have died from drinking and driving, or overdosing. It would have been one of those two. I don't know.
Man.
But I was drinking and driving for like 3 years straight, every weekend, just coming from the club, because I worked at a nightclub, and just driving like an hour home, hour there each. Like, it's crazy, man. So
Man.
I get so joyful because I understand of how lucky that is. How fucking lucky that is. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So a lot of people got into drugs and alcohol during lockdown.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I got sober. I got fucking sober, man. So yeah, God puts us all on this earth for a reason, you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like those scenarios that it kind of shows who's the true, like, you know, it shows someone's true character sometimes. A scenario like that kind of emergency or just chaos, life just like is paused for a minute. It's like you saw the people who got fatter and fatter and didn't do anything with their life, and you also saw the people who hit the dang home gym, 500 push-ups a day. I'm going in. I have so much extra time to just become a better man. Like you could see the two paths people would go down. And
very clear. It became very clear who was winner and who were gonna stay a fucking loser. And I love it because it's survival of the fittest. This world, you know.
For sure.
So you see who the winners are. The winners who made millions of dollars, who turned their life around, deserve to have those rewards now because they put the work in during those times. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, this has been truly an amazing time. Are there anything else you want to cover before we end this pod?
My Instagram, I welcome DMs.
Oh.
I get a lot of DMs from YouTube videos that I've created in the past and people messaging me. I really like helping people. My social is David Rico. That's it.
I'll throw that in.
Just David Rico. It's all my social media, Twitter, Threads, Instagram. And if anybody has any recovering questions, I mean, please feel free to DM me. I know how it feels to struggle, and you might be scared to take that jump. But I promise you, when you take that jump, your $1 million lifestyle, whether it's that ideal lifestyle, is on the other side of you jumping everything you want. And you need to go through recovery to get that. So, and I'm here to help to make that recovery a lot easier. So I'm always up for a conversation.
Yeah, man. No one can do it alone, whatever the struggle may be.
Right.
That's why you got to reach out to people like us who are really willing to help and who have lived that life.
Exactly. We have the experience and knowledge. And we're winning, so why not? You should listen to us.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.